It was a quiet night in a small neighborhood. Streets were calm, and most people were sleeping. The houses stood still under the soft glow of street lamps. Inside one of these houses lived a father named Michael and his teenage son Daniel. They had just finished watching a movie and were getting ready for bed. The day had been long for both of them. Michael had worked hard all day, and Daniel had spent his afternoon studying for school. Now, they were enjoying a peaceful evening. Together, the clock showed 1 a.m. Outside, everything was still. The only sounds were the soft rustling of leaves in the gentle wind and the distant hoot of an owl. Michael sat in his favorite chair, feeling tired but content. Daniel was in his room, getting ready to sleep. He had a lot on his mind, thinking about an important test the next day. The house was calm, and both of them felt safe and relaxed. Suddenly, a loud banging noise broke the silence. It came from the front door. At first, Michael thought it might be a delivery, or maybe someone knocking by mistake. But the noise grew louder and stronger. It was not just a simple knock. It sounded like someone was trying to break in. Michael's heart started to beat faster. He stood up and moved slowly toward the door. His mind raced, trying to understand what was happening at this late hour. Before he could reach the door, there was a sudden, strong kick. The door flew open with a loud crash. Michael was shocked. A man he did not know stood there, his face serious and angry. The man pushed past Michael and stepped inside the house. Michael could not believe what he was seeing. This stranger was not just knocking, he had kicked in the door. It was a strange and frightening thing to happen, especially at 1 a.m. Daniel, who had heard the noise, quickly came out of his room, saw the stranger inside their home, and felt scared. He knew that something was wrong. Daniel moved close to his father, ready to support him. The house that was once peaceful now felt tense and full of fear. Michael looked at the man and asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The man said. He was from the Homeowners Association, or HOA. Michael had heard of the HOA before. It was a group that took care of the neighborhood and made sure everyone followed the rules. But Michael never expected an HOA officer to come to his house at 1 a.m., let alone break in. It did not make sense. Michael wanted proof. He said, "Show me your identification. Who sent you here?" The stranger hesitated and looked uncomfortable. He fumbled with his pockets but did not show any real badge or ID. Instead, he gave Michael a strange look and said, "I'm here to check on some violations. You need to listen to me." Michael was not convinced. The man's behavior was not right. He seemed nervous and unsure of himself. Daniel, watching carefully, reached for his phone. Without making a sound, he started calling the police. He whispered quietly to his father, "Dad, I'm calling for help." Michael nodded, relieved that his son was calm and smart in this scary situation. The stranger did not notice what Daniel was doing. He was busy looking around the house, acting as if he had the right to be there. The man started talking about rules Michael had never heard of. He said there were problems with the house, things that broke the HOA rules. But Michael knew his house well. Nothing was wrong. He had paid all his dues and followed every rule carefully. The stranger's words did not make sense. Michael tried to stay calm and said, "If you have any concerns, you must show me proper papers. You cannot come in like this." The man's face became angry. He raised his voice and said, "I have the authority. You need to cooperate." Michael stood firm. He put himself between the man and his son. "No, you don't have authority to break in this way," Michael said. "I want you to leave right now. Otherwise, I will call the police." The man hesitated. He looked at Michael and then at Daniel. It was clear he did not expect such courage from them. Meanwhile, outside, the house neighbors were starting to hear the noise. Some peeked through their windows, worried about what was happening. The man's loud voice and the crashing door had awakened many people. The neighborhood was usually quiet at this time. This sudden disturbance was strange and worrying back. Inside, Daniel continued talking to the police on the phone. He explained the situation, giving their address and saying a stranger had broken in. He stayed calm, even though his heart was pounding. Michael kept his eyes on the man, ready to protect his son if needed. He knew they had to be careful. The stranger might be dangerous. But Michael hoped it was not too late for help to arrive. the fake HOA cop started moving around the house, looking at pictures on the wall and checking drawers. Michael wondered what the man was really after. Was he trying to scare them? Or was he looking for something? Michael could feel his anger growing. How dared this stranger invade their home without any right? Daniel whispered to his father, "Dad, stay calm. The police are on their way." Michael nodded, taking a deep breath. He told the stranger again, "You are not welcome here. Please leave." The man ignored him and kept looking around. Time felt slow and long. Every second passed like a minute. The tension filled the room. Michael thought about what could have happened if Daniel had not been there. His son's quick thinking to call the police might be their only hope. Michael felt proud of Daniel's bravery. Suddenly, headlights shone through the windows. Blue and red lights flashed outside. Sound of sirens grew closer. The stranger's face changed. He looked scared now, as the man realized the police were. Arriving, he tried to act calm, but his nervousness showed. Michael moved closer to Daniel and whispered, "Help is here." Daniel smiled slightly, but stayed alert. They did not know what would happen next, but they knew they were not alone anymore. The fake HOA cop looked toward the door, then at Michael and Daniel. He weighed his options. Finally, he decided to run. The man pushed past Michael again and hurried outside. But before he could leave, police officers stepped inside. The officers quickly took control of the situation. They asked Michael and Daniel if they were okay. They looked around to see if anyone else was inside or if there was damage. Michael explained what had happened. The officers listened carefully and took notes. Daniel gave his phone to an officer and showed the call he had made. The police praised Daniel's calmness and quick thinking. Michael felt relieved. At last, their nightmare was over. The stranger who had kicked in their door was now stopped. Neighbors came out to see what was going on. Some thanked Michael and Daniel for staying strong. Others said they would be more careful and watchful from now on. The quiet neighborhood had been shaken, but the people were ready to protect each other that night. After the police took the stranger away, Michael and Daniel sat together in the living room. They held hands, feeling safe once more. Though their door was broken and their peace disturbed, their family bond had grown stronger. They knew they had faced a scary moment, but they had faced it together. Michael looked at his son and said, "You were very brave tonight." Daniel smiled and said, "We are a team, Dad. We protect each other." In that quiet moment, they both understood something important. No matter what dangers came their way, they would always stand strong. Side by side, the night was no longer just quiet. It was filled with courage, love, and hope. After the police took the man away, Michael and Daniel tried to calm their shaking hearts. The strange night was far from over, because now they needed to understand who this man really was. The man had said he was from the Homeowners Association, or HOA, but something about him did not feel right. Michael thought about the stranger's strange behavior. He had no real badge, no identification, and he acted nervous when asked for proof. Michael had lived in the neighborhood for many years and knew the HOA well. They never sent officers to people's houses at night, and they never kicked in doors without warning. The man's story did not add up. Daniel sat beside his father, still feeling a little scared but also curious. "Dad," he said quietly. "Why? Would someone pretend to be from the HOA? What could they want from us?" Michael shook his head. "I don't know, son, but we need to find out." The police officers stayed a little longer, asking Michael questions about the man in the house. They wanted to know everything to make a clear report. One officer told Michael that sometimes people pretend to be officials to scare others or trick them. It was called impersonation, and it was against the law. Michael listened carefully. "So this man wasn't really from the HOA?" asked. The officer nodded. "Most likely not. We'll check records and find out more. But for now, you and your son did the right thing by calling us." Michael felt proud of Daniel again. His son's quick thinking had probably stopped the man from doing more harm. The officer explained that it was common for people who want to take advantage of others to act fast and scare them that way. People might not think clearly and might give up money or let them do things they shouldn't. After the police left, Michael decided to call the HOA office himself. He wanted to be sure that no one had sent anyone to his home. He dialed. the number he had saved on his phone. The woman who answered was kind and surprised to hear the story. "Mr. Michael," she said, "we never send anyone to homes at night, and we do not force entry. We always send letters or call first." "What you described sounds very wrong." Michael told her about the man who had kicked in the door and claimed to be from the HOA. The woman promised to help and said she would alert the other residents and the HOA board. While Michael talked on the phone, Daniel searched online about people pretending to be HOA officers. He found stories where people tried to trick others to get money or scare them away. Some even tried to steal from homes when they distracted the owners. Daniel showed the information to his father. They both felt even more worried, but also more determined to protect themselves. That night, they talked about what to do next. Michael wanted to fix the broken door as soon as possible. He also wanted to add stronger locks and maybe a security camera. Daniel suggested they tell the neighbors so everyone could watch out for suspicious people. They agreed this was very important. The next day, Michael called a locksmith to repair the door and make it stronger, while waiting for the locksmith. Michael and Daniel made a list of safety rules for their home. They decided they would never open the door for strangers at night without proper identification. They also planned to always keep their phones close in case of an emergency. Their neighbors had heard about this strange event, and many of them were talking about it. Some shared their own stories about strange people in the area. The neighborhood was no longer just quiet and safe in their minds. They felt they needed to be more careful and watchful. Michael and Daniel decided to organize a meeting with the neighbors. They wanted to warn everyone about the fake officer and share advice on how to stay safe. The meeting took place in a small community room nearby. Many people came, including older residents and families with children. Michael spoke, calmly sharing what had happened to him and Daniel. He explained how the man had acted and what to look for if someone tried to trick them. Daniel also shared how he had called the police and stayed calm. People listened carefully and thanked them for their courage. At the meeting, the HOA board members promised to increase neighborhood patrols and work with the police. They also said they would send clear messages to all residents about how official HOA officers would act. This helped everyone feel a little safer. Despite the support, Michael and Daniel still felt a little uneasy. They wondered how many other people this man might have tried to scare or trick. They hoped the police would find him quickly and stop him from harming anyone else. A few days later, the police called Michael. They had found the man's real identity. He was not an officer or someone with authority. Instead, he had a history of pretending to be officials to frighten people. He wanted to pressure them into paying fines or giving him money. The police were working on charging him with impersonation and breaking and entering. Michael was glad to hear this news. He hoped the man would be punished so he could not hurt others. But Michael also knew this was a reminder that even in quiet neighborhoods, dangers could come in unexpected ways. Michael and Daniel continued to strengthen their home's security. They installed cameras near the front door and added lights that turned on automatically when someone approached. They practiced what to do if strangers came to the door again. They talked about trusting their instincts and staying calm. Their experience brought the family closer together. Michael admired Daniel's bravery and quick thinking. Daniel felt proud to have helped protect their home. They knew they were not just father and son, but also a team that could face any challenge. The neighborhood slowly returned to its peaceful routine. But the memory of that night remained. It was a story they would share with others to help keep everyone safe. Michael hoped that by telling their story, others would be more careful and watchful. In the end, the fake HOA cop's visit became a lesson for the entire community. It reminded them to be careful, to trust their feelings, and to protect their homes and families. Michael and Daniel felt stronger because they faced fear together and came out wiser, though the door had been kicked in and their peace disturbed. Daniel knew they had won something more important, the knowledge that courage, carefulness, and love could keep them safe in any storm. The days after the frightening night passed slowly for Michael and Daniel. Though the immediate danger was gone, the experience had left a mark on both of them. Every sound in the house seemed louder, and every unexpected knock made them jump. But life had to go on, and they wanted to heal from the shock. They knew that healing would take time and that they had to be patient with themselves. Michael went to work as usual, but his mind often wandered back to the man who had broken in. He thought about how easily someone could scare a family and take advantage of their trust. It made him want to learn more about safety and how to protect his home better. He started reading about home security systems and how to recognize scams and fake officials. Daniel, meanwhile, was busy with school and friends. But he also felt a new responsibility. He wanted to help his father and neighbors stay safe. At school, he talked to his friends about what happened, hoping they would tell their families too. He realized that many people did not know what to do if a stranger tried to trick them. One afternoon, Michael received a call from the police. They had found more information about the fake HOA cop. The man was known to the police for similar actions in other neighborhoods. He often pretended to be someone important to scare people into paying money or giving up personal information. This made Michael feel angry but also grateful that the police were working hard to catch him. The police asked Michael and Daniel if they would help by sharing their story in the neighborhood newsletter. Michael agreed immediately. Thought that the more people who knew about this man, the safer everyone would be. Daniel helped write the story, making sure it was clear and easy to understand. The newsletter explained what happened that night. It warned residents to never open their doors to strangers without checking their identity first. It advised people to call the police if they felt unsafe. The story reminded everyone to trust their feelings and to protect themselves and their families. After the newsletter was shared, many neighbors thanked Michael and Daniel for their courage. Some said they had also noticed suspicious people nearby, but were unsure what to do. Now they felt more confident to speak up and call for help if needed. The neighborhood was becoming more aware and prepared. One evening, Michael and Daniel decided to take a walk around the neighborhood. They wanted to see if they could spot anything unusual. As they walked, they noticed some neighbors had added new locks, cameras, and lights. It made Michael happy to see the community coming together. They stopped to talk with Mrs. Lopez, an older woman who lived alone. She told them she was scared after hearing about the break-in. Michael and Daniel reassured her, sharing some safety tips and offering to help if she needed anything. Mrs. Lopez smiled and said she felt safer knowing the neighborhood was watching out for each other. That same week, the police invited Michael and Daniel to a community safety meeting. The meeting was held at the local library and many residents attended. The police shared tips on how to recognize fake officials, what questions to ask, and how to protect personal information. They also spoke about neighborhood watch programs and how everyone could help keep the area safe. Michael and Daniel listened carefully. They asked questions and took notes. The police officers praised Daniel for his quick thinking during the break-in and encouraged other young people to be brave like him. Daniel felt proud and more confident. After the meeting, Michael and Daniel walked home together. Michael said, "Son, you did a great job. You helped not just us, but the whole neighborhood." Daniel smiled and replied, "We're a team, Dad. We'll keep helping." Back at home, they looked at the security cameras Michael had installed. The cameras were small, but powerful. They could see anyone who came near the door, even at night. Michael checked the footage often, feeling safer with the cameras watching over them. One night, as they sat in the living room, Daniel asked, "Dad, what if the man comes back?" Michael put his arm around his son and said, "If he tries, we won't be scared anymore. We know how to protect ourselves. And the police are ready to help." Days turned into weeks, and the fear began to fade. Michael and Daniel learned to live with the memory, but did not let it control their lives. They found strength in each other and in their community. One morning, Michael was surprised when the HOA president knocked on his door not to cause trouble, but to say thank you. The president praised Michael and Daniel for their bravery and their work to keep the neighborhood safe. Said the HOA was now working with the police to create better security plans and clearer communication for all residents. Michael felt proud to be part of a community that cared. He looked at Daniel and saw a young man who had grown stronger through the challenge. The experience had changed them both, but also brought hope. As summer came, the neighborhood held a block party. Michael, Daniel, and their neighbors gathered in the park to celebrate safety and friendship. They shared food, stories, and laughter. The scary night felt far away now, replaced by smiles and new bonds. Michael took a moment to speak with the group. "We all face challenges," he said, "but together we can protect each other. Let's keep watching out for our families and neighbors," Daniel added. "And remember, never be afraid to ask for help. You are never alone." The crowd cheered, feeling united and ready for whatever came next. That night, as Michael and Daniel walked home, they looked up at the stars. The world was big and sometimes uncertain, but they knew they had each other and their community. That was enough. The memory of the fake HOA cop was a reminder to stay alert, but also a story of courage, love, and hope. Michael and Daniel were ready to face the future, stronger than ever before. After the block party and all the talks in the neighborhood, life started to feel normal again for Michael and Daniel. But there was still more work to do. The fake HOA cop's visit was not just a scary story, it was a warning. It showed how important it was to keep the community safe and help each other. Michael spent a lot of time working with the HOA and the police. They wanted to make sure no one else would be tricked or scared like they were. The HOA created a new plan to send clear letters and make phone calls before visiting anyone's home. They promised never to come at night without a proper reason or warning. The police also started a neighborhood watch program. This program asked neighbors to look out for each other and report anything strange. Michael signed up to be part of the watch. He took training on how to observe carefully and safely. Daniel wanted to help too, so he joined a youth safety group at school. They learned how to stay safe and help their families. One afternoon, Michael and Daniel went to a meeting with the HOA board and the police. The room was full of neighbors who wanted to learn how to keep their homes safe. The police officers explained the dangers of fake officials and how to check if someone was really who they said they were. Michael shared his story again, speaking clearly and calmly. He told everyone how the man had kicked in his door and pretended to be an HOA. Cuppy said how Daniel had called the police quietly and stayed brave. The neighbors listened with wide eyes. Some shook their heads in disbelief, while others took notes to remember after Michael finished. One of the police officers said, "This story shows how important it is to stay calm and call us right away. If you ever feel unsure about someone, do not open the door. Always ask for ID and call the police if something feels wrong." The meeting helped many people feel safer. They thanked Michael and Daniel for sharing their experience and helping the neighborhood. Some older neighbors said they had learned something new and important that day. Back at home, Michael looked around their living room. The broken door had been repaired, but the memories stayed. He thought about how quickly everything had changed that night. A quiet, safe home had suddenly become a place of fear and confusion. But it was also a place of courage and strength. Daniel was studying in his room, but he came out to talk to his father. "Dad," he said, "I think we should teach other families about this. Maybe we can make a small video or a guide to help people know what to do." Michael smiled. "That's a great idea, son. The more people learn, the safer we all become. We can together." They worked on a simple guide that explained what to do if a stranger came to your door. They wrote about asking for ID, not opening the door without proof, and calling the police immediately. They included tips on how to stay calm and protect your family. They also shared ways to improve home security, like adding cameras and strong locks. They shared the guide with neighbors, schools, and community centers. Many people thanked them and said it helped them feel ready. Michael and Daniel knew their story had become more than just theirs. It was now a tool to protect others. One evening, Michael received a call from the police. They had an update about the fake HOA cop. The man had been caught in another neighborhood trying the same trick. This time, the police stopped him before he could cause any trouble. Michael felt relieved. It was good to know the man was finally off the streets. The police told Michael they were working with prosecutors to bring charges against the man. They hoped he would face consequences and learn that he could not scare or harm people with lies. Michael shared the news with Daniel, who smiled and said, "Justice is coming, Dad. We did the right thing." Michael nodded. "Yes, son. Now we have to keep doing the right thing every day." Their neighborhood grew stronger. People talked more and watched out for one another. A sense of community returned, even stronger than before. Michael and Daniel felt proud to be part of it. One day, the HOA held a special event called Safety Day. There were booths with information about security, police demonstrations, and fun activities for kids. Michael and Daniel helped run a table where they shared their guide and told their story. Many families came to listen. Parents asked questions and children practiced how to say no to strangers. The event brought everyone closer and made safety a shared goal. Watch Daniel talking confidently to a group of young people. He felt thankful for his son's courage and kindness. They had turned a scary night into something good for many people. That evening, as the sun set, Michael and Daniel sat on their porch. The air was warm and calm. Michael looked at the quiet street and said, "We've come a long way, son. This neighborhood is safer because of people like you." Daniel smiled and said, "We all have to help, Dad. Together we can make a difference." Michael felt hopeful. Though the fake HOA cops' visit had been frightening, it had also brought the neighborhood together. They had learned to trust each other, to be brave, and to protect what mattered most. The door might have been broken that night, but the bonds between neighbors had grown stronger. Michael and Daniel knew they would always be ready to face challenges. No matter what, their story was not just about fear. It was about courage, community, and hope. Time passed, and the seasons changed. The neighborhood that once felt shaken by fear slowly returned to its peaceful rhythm. But for Michael and Daniel, the experience they shared was never forgotten. It became a story they told not to frighten others, but to remind everyone how important it was to stay strong and watchful. Michael woke up one morning feeling thankful. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and the neighborhood was full of life. He looked around the house and smiled. The door was repaired and looked solid. The cameras he had installed were working well, and he felt safer than ever. More importantly, he felt the strength of his family and community. Daniel was getting ready for school. He had grown more confident after all that had happened. He no longer feared unexpected noises or strangers at the door. Instead, he knew what to do and how to stay calm. The experience had taught him lessons he would carry for life. That day, Michael and Daniel decided to visit some neighbors. They wanted to check in, share more safety tips, and remind everyone to keep watching out for each other. As they walked down the street, neighbors greeted them warmly. Some shared stories of their own and talked about how they had made their homes safer. Mrs. Lopez, the older woman Michael and Daniel had helped before, came outside to see them. She smiled and said, "Thank you both for everything you've done. I feel so much safer now," Michael replied. "We all help each other here. That's what makes this neighborhood special." As they continued their walk, Michael thought about how much had changed since that frightening night. The fake HOA cops' visit had been scary, but it had also brought people closer. Neighbors were more connected and the community was stronger. Back at home, Michael sat down with Daniel to talk about the future. "Son," he said, "we've learned a lot from what happened, but our job isn't over. We need to keep sharing what we know and helping others stay safe." Daniel nodded. "I agree, Dad. Maybe we can start a small group at school to teach safety. We can help more families." Michael smiled proudly. "That's a wonderful idea. You're becoming a leader, Daniel." Daniel grinned. "I want to help. I want no one to feel scared like we did." That evening, Michael and Daniel looked through photos from the block party and neighborhood meetings. They saw happy faces and families enjoying time together. Reminded them how important community was. They felt proud to have played a part in making their neighborhood safer as they prepared for bed. Michael thought about how much courage his son had shown. Daniel had stayed calm during a frightening time and helped save their home. It made Michael realize that courage could come from anyone, no matter how young or old. Daniel looked up at his father and said, "Dad, thank you for trusting me that night. I felt scared, but I knew we had to be strong together." Michael hugged his son tightly. "I'm proud of you, Daniel. We make a great team." The night was calm and peaceful. The house was quiet, but their hearts were full. They knew that no matter what challenges came their way, they would face them together with love and courage. Days later, Michael received a letter from the police. It said that the man who had broken into their home was found guilty of impersonation and breaking and entering. The court had sentenced him to pay a fine and attend counseling. Michael hoped this would stop the man from hurting anyone else. The letter also thanked Michael and Daniel for their bravery and cooperation. It reminded them that their actions had helped protect not just their family, but the entire community. Michael shared the news with Daniel. They celebrated quietly, knowing justice had been served. But more than that, they celebrated their strength and the bonds they had built. The experience had changed them both. It had taught them to be careful, but not fearful, to be brave, but also wise, to stand up for themselves and others, to never forget the power of family and community. In the months that followed, Michael and Daniel continued to be active in their neighborhood. They helped organize events, shared safety tips, and encouraged neighbors to look out for each other. Their home became a place where people felt welcome and safe. Friends and family often came over, knowing they could trust Michael and Daniel to help if needed. One day, as Michael was fixing a fence in the backyard, Daniel came running to tell him some good news. "Dad, our safety group at school is growing. More students want to join and learn how to protect their families." Michael smiled broadly. "That's wonderful, Daniel. You're making a difference." Daniel beamed with pride. "I want to keep helping. I want to make sure no one feels scared like we did." Michael looked up at the sky and said, "You're doing something very special, son, returning a scary night into hope for many." As the sun set, father and son stood together, watching the neighborhood lights twinkle. The world was full of challenges, but they knew they were ready. Their story was one of courage, love, and hope. It was a story they would carry with them. Always the fake HOA cop had knocked down their door, but he had not broken their spirit. Michael and Daniel had faced fear, and they had won.